Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Duke and Dutch Show. Today, we have a lot to talk about. From the Democratic Party struggling to gain back young men, have they finally found their solution in activist influencer Olivia Giuliani? Let's find out. After that, the Biden Autopen scandal deepens.
Who done it?
And they're going to try to find out who is accountable, if they're going to hold anyone accountable. They probably won't, but hopefully they do. Because, you know, obviously Biden's mental acuity has been something we've been talking about for the past 2 weeks and is a major scandal. After that, we want to talk a little bit about Creator Clash 3. It's a tongue tire. And now iDubbbz and his husband wife, Anisa Joma, kind of dipped out at the right time here and kind of screwed everybody by canceling this event. There's still people are still struggling to refund tickets, and also the event is now in October instead of June, and now it's in LA instead of Florida, so it might be an issue for some people who've taken vacation time to go down to see Creator Clash. Oh, and lastly, there's a very interesting story coming out from Governor Josh Green in Texas, or not in Texas, why did I say Texas? Governor Josh Green of Hawaii, who now wants to put a tax on anybody visiting the state. And, you know, as Hawaii is basically a tourism economy, and that's 75 to 80% of their infrastructure. I can't see taxing people for going there for an already expensive vacation would possibly be a bad thing. But what do I know? I'm not a Democrat. But before we get into that, Duke, how's everything going with you today?
Not bad. I actually got some great news. I forgot to tell you before we started recording, I got a job offer.
Oh, that is good news.
Yeah, still waiting to figure out more details, but I got a new job offer, so we'll see what's going on with that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I pray you're never as terminally online as I am, because it's like, as we were talking about earlier, I know a little too much about all these influencer people, but when you're unemployed. All right, so the first thing we're going to get into here is, I don't know, the Democrats, they are really struggling here. Their poll numbers are obviously in the toilet. They're pulling at like 25%. And they've realized they have a problem. I would say one of many problems, but they realize they have a problem with talking to young men. And they believe that this activist right here,
I wonder why.
Is they're going to try to get into that because they, but they believe that this might be their answer. Olivia Giuliani, she is that's why I said Texas. She is from Texas. She's an influencer, activist. She's met Pelosi, met Biden. She's met all those people. She really loves the Democrat Party. And,
everyone knows as long as you meet the people, you're
qualified.
As the saying goes, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Whoa.
Sounds kind of like a threat.
Yeah.
So, this is her, which I originally thought this was a Photoshop picture. Apparently it's not. I guess this is an older picture. She has lost weight since then. She's down a little bit, or she says she's down 65 pounds. If she is, good for her. I'm not gonna, but the Democrats have deployed influence Olivia Giuliani to attract young male voters. I'm just not sure if this is gonna work, but
why do they think it's gonna attract young male voters? Or what are her stances that she thinks, that they think that?
Oh, she thinks she thinks she knows how to communicate with them. So maybe she does. I mean, I would, she says she can talk to frat bros and people like that. And I'm like, I mean, that's possible. I'm not saying you can't, but I just don't see this as like somebody who would really fit into like a frat bro type of culture. Just off appearances and off your, your politics too. But I could be wrong.
Yeah, going off of that statement, I mean, I'm sure some fraternity.
This is a little bit out there, but this is obviously we talked about him last week or a week before that. DNC Vice Chair David Hogg, who is going to admit on a hidden camera that he doesn't know is there, that he knows Nancy Pelosi is corrupt, but won't say anything because that made it harder to get gun control passed. Obviously, David Hogg, that's his main thing. He wants to abolish 2A. He famously launched his career because he was from the Parkland shooting in Florida. Well, there's reports saying he wasn't actually there, but he did go to the school. So whether or not he was there that day,
I would say Pelosi's actually very good at her job. I don't agree with the stock trading stuff. I mean, she gets better returns than almost every hedge fund in this city.
So he's saying what everybody already knows.
every year. Some of these members of Congress make trades that are like way too well timed to not have like insider knowledge. They happen to be some of the best financial analysts in human history.
Have you spoken against that?
I've talked to them in the past, but it's also like, I know that if I pick that fight, it's going to be harder for us to get gun control passed, so I have to pick my battle.
So his principles are completely compromised, even though she knows that not only Pelosi, but other members of Congress, which we all know already, they're getting rich off insider trading because they're way, I mean, they're way too good at stocks. They're better than Warren Buffett is. So,
I mean, it's the definition of insider trading. Exactly. Yeah. They know information that is not public, or at least not public yet. And they're using it to their financial advantage.
Yet if I give you $600 as a gift and I don't declare that on my taxes, I'll be audited. But these people, it's just, I don't know, man.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Let's not question their returns on investment whatsoever when it comes to stocks. So they're just really good at analyzing the data.
But see, it's an open secret, like he's saying, and he's the DNC vice chair, or he still is, even though he's been ousted. He has to go through another re-election. But he is still DNC vice chair until that recount happens. But, it's an open secret. Everybody knows. And what does this have to do with it? It's like, this is why people don't trust the Democrats. I just think the only people I ever see interviewed who trust the Democrats are like 70 and older. That's like the older generation trust the Democrats. It seems like in every other category, they're losing people.
They've just been exposed so much, especially recently. There's just too much exposure to let it go.
Yeah, and for people who are not glued to
not change your opinion about them.
Well, these people are. I mean, I watched this happen with my grandfather. He didn't mind Trump in 2016. I think he actually voted for him. By 2020, he hated Trump's guts. Like, he just hated his guts, and I was like, Papa, what are you talking about? He's always been a pretty smart guy. He was the person who told me, how Obama's a crook. I was like, I don't know about that, and I was wrong about that. But I'm like, well, what's wrong with him? I was like, why was he? And I'm like, the guy's like 86, 87 years old. He goes to dialysis. When he's not at dialysis, what can he do? He sits on the couch. He watches football on Saturdays, and if he's not watching football, he's watching CNN. So it's like, every day they're just telling him Trump bad, Trump bad, Trump bad, and eventually you're gonna be like, well, I don't go to another news source. Trump bad.
Yeah, especially if that's what you're getting fed day in, day out. Yeah. Policies are one thing, but we're not talking about policies. We're talking about just straight.
No, this is just corruption.
Sides, and it's just
And I think this is a big, these are the things that are never said out loud, but yeah, people know. People know, and this is why the Democrats are not trusted. I would say not even just amongst, young men is what they're doing worse with, or men in general is their worst one, or white men is what they're doing worse with, I should say.
For sure, yeah.
But a lot of people just do not trust them unless they're hardcore Democrats. And obviously David Hogg here is like, hey, I don't really trust them. I know that there are things that they're doing behind the scenes that aren't right.
Yeah.
I don't care, because I have my own agenda that I want to get past. Which he's on a losing battle. They're never gonna get rid of 2A.
Right, let's let him finish telling his side.
Like the hardest part about my job is I just want to burn everything down because it's all so corrupt. But you got to pick your battles and slowly build your momentum.
I don't think he's winning re-election.
Joining us now, DNC Vice Chair.
Tell the truth.
Well, I didn't want to play the whole clip. I just wanted to play that. So it's like, it's an open secret. They know. And if anyone's paying attention, if young men are paying attention, or young women or men or of any color, creed, sexuality, they're not going to trust these people. Hey, I got a notification from you.
It's pretty simple. Stop lying. Just stop telling us bullshit. Stop covering up everything.
This is, now, Tim Walz is here. Why am I bringing up Tim Walz? Well, he was the last person to be brought up to, he was part of Kamala's campaign because he could code talk. And that's just his words, code talk to men.
I could code talk to white guys watching football, fixing their truck.
First of all, we don't speak in code. We're not aliens. Second of all, I might recommend to the governor that if your first move at a political event is to go right to the jazz hands, maybe you're not speaking the correct language that you think you're speaking, perhaps a different dialect, but this was maybe the dumbest analysis of the 2024 election I'd ever seen. We know why he was chosen, because she couldn't pick the correct choice because he was Jewish. Let's be honest, she should have picked the governor of Pennsylvania.
Well, I don't know if that's true exactly. I think he wasn't selected because he was Jewish, but because that would have been conflicted with the whole Palestinian thing going on. But Shapiro
I'm
would
not
have.
sure exactly what that is. But...
Well, Shapiro would have been a better choice. He's the PA governor, but he would have been a better choice, and it probably would have locked up Pennsylvania for, or it might have. At least it would have given you a better chance if the governor of PA is running. PA probably would have went blue. Now we know. Well, that really wouldn't have mattered, but yeah. I don't think Kamala Harris was strong enough, or maybe Shapiro maybe they asked him and he turned him down. I don't know. Because I gotta say, I wouldn't saddle my horse to Kamala if I had any other options.
And her party wouldn't let her do it. So she ends up picking this camouflage hat-wearing buffoon that comes from your state, who I am convinced actually cost her votes, but I am more than glad
Probably
it was
did.
on the ticket so that J.D. Vance could kick his ass at the debate.
Why do you think it is that Democrats have had such a hard time convincing men and young men in particular of their message lately, and conservatives have been much more successful at it through Trump?
It's very simple, because they care more about dudes who want to be women than dudes who just want to be dudes. That is the main reason.
Scott Jennings, everybody. Scott Jennings, the only sane person at CNN. He might not be there for much longer, though. I hear there's rumors he might make a run for the House in Kentucky, and I would vote for him, but I'm not from Kentucky. But if he does, and you should vote for him. So we're gonna circle back around here to Democrat influencer Olivia Giuliana, who apparently shared this photoshopped image of her. That obviously she looks a lot better, and except she, her chin's a little weird. And then this is the actual photo of her. She's
Why'd she Photoshop it?
I don't know. I guess she was trying to get a better angle, let's say. I'm not going to read that comment. That is not nice, Gunther Eagleman. All right, but this is her explaining how she is going to be able to... this is her strategy to win back young men. And she apparently has somehow been tasked with this job because she says, I know how to win back young men.
All right, let's listen to it. I'm curious.
It would be so much easier if we just understood that the problems we're having with young men shifting to the right, it's not because they don't agree with us on the policy. They do agree with us on the policy. It's because they feel like we don't understand the struggles they're facing, the actual struggles, not the perceived struggles of the masculinity crisis or whatever it is, the actual struggles. And instead, we just kind of want to blame them for all of our problems.
Right. I think there's a lot of that I just fully agree with. I mean, we just don't message to men, right? And I was like we don't message in a way that resonates to men. Something that you kind of responded to that I've seen a lot is, well, the reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? It's like men want to have sex and own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody, and Republicans say you get to do that, and then Democrats can't say that. So we just
wow.
See, this is
an interesting take.
This is exactly why you don't have men aren't supporting you. One, you've spent the past decade demonizing men. Two, I've never heard
to the point that that's your stance. Like what? That's what you think what men want, then you're clearly delusional. Like, what?
Well, no, he's actually going to go on and make the point. I realize that isn't what men want, but it's like, that's okay. That's fine. Because I don't think, maybe, a very small percentage of sociopaths or serial killers.
Just like with women, I'm sure there's a percentage that, only like men for the money.
Oh, that would be a lot higher percentage. But, that's a much higher percentage. But, that's not the point. The point is, he's going to make this argument, but it's like, but the fact that you even think that Republicans think like that, when I've never heard any Republican come out and say that. And yet this is somehow your stance on Republicans. It's very bizarre. Very bizarre.
I've never heard that stance from the Republicans, but okay. Yeah. That's some interesting political points.
Just lost men, it's over, right? What are you talking about? A lot of times it will be men that are liberals who will agree with that shit. I'm like, dude, what is going on? There's a lot of men that don't think that way, obviously, and it's just such.
Well, that's kind of like Harry Sisson, who just got exposed last month for having a stable full of women. Now, is that a bad thing? No, he's a young 22, 23-year-old kid. He's an influencer. He's very popular. However, it goes against all of the principles that he holds up. America failed women tonight. America did this. Yeah, it's not the fact that you're doing it, because if anyone could play the game, anybody would play the game, or most guys would play the game. But or maybe not most, but some. Anyway, not the point. The point is, the point is you're a hypocrite, and people don't like hypocrites. That's the problem with the entire Democratic Party. I think you're all hypocrites. Like,
it's very hypocritical on that side.
Such a negative view to take on like half of the human race.
Well, I also think it's just so abundantly clear that the people who say these things don't actually spend time talking to young men.
You don't say.
You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I spend a lot of time with young
men.
I love young men. I
lesbian, by the way, I'm pretty sure.
love frat guys, and in that I realized, like, even the ones that identify as conservative are almost always pro-choice. They're almost always pro-gay marriage. You'd be surprised at the number of them who supported Black Lives Matter. It's so...
Probably on college campuses, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
I would agree. Well, maybe not the BLM thing, because that's a total scam. But I would imagine that most people on college campuses, or even most frat bros, probably are pro-choice and pro-gay marriage. I would agree with that. I think even the Republican Party is kind of like given up on the whole. The Republican Party is more left-leaning on that stuff than it's ever been. Trump giving it back to the states, letting them decide. And I mean, I think everyone's kind of okay with gay marriage at this point. Now the whole fight is to keep men out of women's bathrooms.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
No, I mean, that's getting so bad it's even embarrassing gay people. Like, there's a gays against groomers thing on Twitter, which is huge. It's like, gays don't want to be associated with the trans community. Good. And it's probably the most, not that all trans people are bad or anything, but there's like a very vocal minority that really, just for clout and attention, really make everybody else look bad.
Creating a bad narrative.
Well, and the bad seeds are unfortunately the ones you hear about the most.
Yeah.
All right, let's continue.
I feel like people just kind of lump them into this box when the truth is, again, a lot of them are with us on the issues. They're just not part of our coalition because they feel like they're not welcomed in it.
They're not talking.
Well, they're not welcome to it because you've spent the past decade demonizing men, especially white men. I mean, you've had a war on masculinity. We're
awful. We're shit.
Didn't Hillary Clinton run I think Hillary Clinton's campaign slogan when she ran was "I'm with her." It's like you have kind of thrown men out of the party. You said masculinity is bad, masculinity is toxic. Well, this is the natural repercussion of that. The chickens have come home to roost. You've lost the male vote. And I don't know if Olivia Giuliani here is going to be able to get it back, but we shall see.
Talk to, right? And they're not welcome. That's true. Like, there's a lot of times where it's like being like masculine characteristics seem like they're frowned upon, and they're kind of welcomed and championed by the Republican Party. And like masculine characteristics are not characteristics that are intrinsically bad, right? Like
since when? Because this is the first I'm hearing about that, because they say masculine. That's why they have Tim Walz out there with the jazz hands and all that stuff, because he's not traditionally masculine.
How dare you?
That's why they picked him. But now obviously the Democrats, they're polling so badly, they completely got blown out at the presidential race, the House, the Senate. They have to retool. But is your pandering gonna be enough? Probably not. I think really if what they should do if they want to try to get men back in the party is what they're gonna do, and they won't do it. They have to abandon some of this woke nonsense. You can't keep going further and further and further left. Yeah,
they have to draw a line.
But they won't, because their base is now the wokest people. So they can't do that.
And I think that some Democrats have presented it that way. Now, obviously not most Democrats, but it's like this perception that a lot of guys have had. And in terms of issues, like, good messaging is messaging that resonates with people's actual anxieties and lived experience, right? And so, like the Whatever podcast can resonate with men that are like incels or like struggling with women, right? Because a girl was mean to them or whatever, and they're able to project upon like those women which come on like
again, he's misunderstanding the whole point of the red pill movement. And I'm not an expert in the red pill movement, but it literally, I from what I can gather from it, because I've seen clips from the Whatever podcast, I think it's just that men are getting fed up with hypergamy, which is, taking everything by storm, because obviously a woman can post a picture online, get a ton more attention than men just from her looks. And that's just, how men and women are. They're wired differently. So it's in men's nature to do stuff like that. But I mean, again, it's like, again, you're insulting people who watch it. Oh, well, you're an incel. Oh, you can't talk to women. It's like, dude, again, on one hand, you're like, oh, we're going to message better to men. On the other hand, you're like, well, but let's insult
you're
them.
Insulting them.
Yeah, it's like, that's the weird thing. The Republican Party is like, they're trying to cast a wide circle. The Democrats have such a little tiny circle, and it's like anybody who doesn't fit into it, everyone who doesn't agree with us 100%, you're out.
You're inferior. Sounds familiar.
Side note, real quick. It's like, and they do this with, this is just not exclusive to men. This is like, they do this with black people as well. They do this with, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Oh, he's not really black. Why? Because he's a Republican? It's like, you accept everybody, but if your politics are a little different, then we oust you and we get rid of you. You're not even who you are. You can't identify as this. It's like, it's ridiculous.
If you don't follow our policies, it doesn't matter what your race, skin is. You're not one of us.
Yeah, I think speaking to that is also understanding the mentality that they're coming from too. So another example is when you look at the polling of what are the issues that are the most important to young men, one of the top issues consistently is immigration. If you actually talk to a young guy about how he feels about immigration, am I allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about immigration.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true.
Bold face line. Maybe she's talking about in college campuses, but that's a small sample of young men.
Well, I would
a small sample of young men.
I'm gonna move on from this because it's like I can't. There was another part, but it's like she's gonna be meeting where she's at. She's gonna go to the frat houses and all that stuff. They want more inclusive messaging. They want simple policy platform.
It's nice that she's talking to these kids on campuses.
She's not gonna be able to do anything. They're not gonna.
The problem is that's a small sample. Get into the real world. Get out of those campuses. Go to a factory. Talk to the men on their lunch breaks or whatever, before work, after work. Post up, see what they think. Talk to the working man, the blue collar man. Find out what they think. You want to find out what the young men really want. Talk to those men.
Well, I think the problem is they've convinced themselves somehow that the Democrats, the only thing they have done wrong, it's not anything to do with their policies. It's just that they weren't nice enough to men in the past decade. And I'm like, I simply don't think that's true. I think people are worried about immigration was like the #1 issue this election cycle. And she's going on about how, it's really abortion. No, it's not. Men have no reproductive rights at all. None.
Yeah.
So that is not like, please. And that's never gonna. I don't think that'll ever change. And I don't
think that'll ever change. Yeah, we have no control over anything when it comes to children. It is what it is. That's the situation. I don't agree with it.
Pretty much, if you go inside, whatever happens after that happens. It's like it's pretty much it. You could lose your kid due to the woman wanting abortion, or you could be paying child support for 18 years for a kid you don't want. But. You literally have no say in whatever position you want. I'm not saying, choosing one. I'm just saying you don't have any reproductive rights. And obviously we know this too, because if, there's a mother on the street with her kid, she'll get free housing. The father, he can't pay for his kid, that's jail time. So it's like, Olivia Giuliana here, and we're about to wrap this up here. She's not very happy about this because she's getting backlash, even though they're saying, Donald Trump Jr. here, I think it's a very nice quote treat, saying, I 100% endorse this Dem activist being put in charge of Dem's campaign to appeal to young men.
Yeah.
I know why he's saying that, but, that's... Yeah. Okay, it's sarcasm, but... Yeah. Well, let's see how she takes it.
I'm the person that's in charge of bringing young men back to the Democratic Party. According to Donald Trump Jr., Trump War Room, Libs of TikTok. And while none of that's actually true, every single time I saw one of y'all posting about me, I had one main thought at the top of my head. Y'all are a bunch of... Y'all are the ones that made it...
She call us cats?
Yeah.
About a woman and her identity and the way that she looks. Something that y'all consistently claim the Democrats do.
I mean, the Democrats do consistently do that. The Democrats literally only care about your identity. That's it. Who you like to sleep with, what color your skin is,
I mean,
what gender you are.
I wouldn't even really necessarily label myself one way or the other, but I'll tell you right now, from an outside perspective, everyone does it. It's for some reason seems to be human nature to criticize appearances. I don't know why. I'm not a fan of it myself. I try to refrain from doing it myself, but especially when we're talking about social media, it
But you're
happens everywhere.
online. If you're
Happens
online, you're
everywhere.
gonna
Yeah,
get
social media, it
criticized.
happens
Jeez.
everywhere. Doesn't matter what side of the coin you're on.
You know, it's like she's not being attacked for her race or her gender or her sexuality. She's, you know, people are saying, well, you're fat.
Yeah, they're just commenting on her looks, which.
And I'm not gonna. I would never say like, you know, if she. I would never say like if she goes camping. I'm sure the bears are hiding their food. I would never say something like that because this is a heavy topic and we want to approach it with sensitivity. But you're online. You got to realize you're gonna get criticized sometimes.
Those comments come.
You don't actually give a fuck about young men. Instead, a lot of you want to talk about my weight. You're using pictures of me from about 65 pounds ago. So let me ask you this. If I lose another 65 pounds, will y'all actually raise young men's wages? Will you actually increase funding to mental health services?
I just want to give it. If she did lose 65 pounds, shout out to her. That's very impressive, and that's a great goal. So
that's goals. Yeah, I'm trying to lose weight.
Yeah, I'd probably lose 10 pounds too. Get too big. Yeah, everybody could lose a little bit of weight, but yeah, obviously like, she was. You know, hey, if you're losing weight, that's great for you. Let me go back here really quick. What was she saying?
Do you actually increase funding to mental health services, or are you just going to find another way to deflect from the fact that y'all don't actually have any policy plan to help them? Y'all can keep making this into some kind of big joke of, oh yeah, let's send her to every frat house in the country.
Well, the Democrats' policy is, well, I mean, the Democrats literally everything is throw money at the problem, throw money at the problem. That doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You got to somehow incentivize people to work, such as that.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm not afraid to go into frat houses or to go to college campuses or to talk to Republicans because unlike y'all, I don't think that they're all shallow assholes. I think that they're actual people who can hold a conversation, but clearly, based off the way you talk about them and the way
we talk about who, or the way Republicans talk about who. She's saying that we think, why? Because somebody called you fat?
Yeah, now apparently we're criticizing frat.
Well, boys? Republicans as a whole are, which isn't true. And guess what?
Yeah. When was that?
Honestly,
considering most of Republicans have been frat boys at some point or another.
I mean, listen, and you know, this woman, she's so big, her blood type could be ragu. It's like, you know, you are objectively fat. It's not insulting to point that out. You're fat. Yeah. Sorry. If somebody was, you know, if somebody called me fat, I'd be like, yeah, you're right. I could lose a few pounds. I'm okay with that. You know, I don't know. It's now insulting to say the truth. You don't know what a woman is. You know, men can go into women's spaces, but, you know, we got to code switch to this and to that. You don't know how to talk to white guys. You don't know. It's like, just, you know, you can't figure this out, lady. I'm sorry. You're getting mad at an objective truth. It might not be nice, but it is true.
That you treat them, you think that they're dumb as shit. Well, I actually don't.
Nobody said that. Nobody said that you were now. Yeah, I don't know where this came from exactly.
Because maybe one comment said it down in the comment section?
No, you're saying that you can talk to frat boys, which is, maybe you can, maybe you can't, but that's completely unproven as of so far. And now you're saying Republicans think they're stupid. I think Charlie...
You're trying to set a false narrative.
Charlie Kirk is like the main conservative going around to college campuses, and he talks to everybody. I have never seen
quite
him...
often, yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't, you know, I mean, he does it, you know, weekly. I don't know about daily, but weekly.
People that do it.
You know, Charlie...
Especially on the Republican side.
Charlie Kirk's the most famous one, Turning Point USA, but that's not the point. Is I've never seen... He does get into it with some people sometimes, but he never really insults their appearances or anything like that.
He never gets to a personal insulting battle. Yeah.
But so I don't think even if people disagree with him, I don't know if he thinks they're dumb. They're probably just misinformed, or from his stance, he thinks they're misinformed. You know. But this woman went from the champion of the Democrat activist to be able to fix this problem to having a melty in about 12 to 24 hours.
This is your first response after you're labeled as the person that's going to turn around their voters of young men, and it's just, this is a horrible first step in that goal.
Agreed.
Horrible first step.
So I'm going to continue to advocate for young men to get the policy agenda that they do deserve.
What have you advocated for so far? Nothing. You saying you're going to do that,
I
but you
haven't
haven't
heard
done
you talk
anything.
about a single policy yet.
You've been in charge of
mental health.
You've appointed yourself at the charge of this you appointed yourself in charge of this issue. You've been in charge for what? A day? What have you done? You're saying mental health and that wages should be higher. Okay.
Welcome to what's already been talked about.
Yeah, I mean, go
for years. Like, it's not a new topic. It's not a new stance. It's not anything. So what are you doing to change young men's minds? I just don't get it.
I'm gonna leave it at this here. And it's like, do you think you could go up to any young man and just be like, listen, young 20.
I think you should change your views and switch to my side.
No, not even that. It's just do you want to make more money? And it'd be like, more money? What?
Yes,
no,
I do.
No, I don't. Why would I want to make more? I actually want to make less. It's like, it's such a stupid thing. Well, I know they want to make more money. Wow. Ralph Bunch over here.
Care about what you think? Well, yeah, kind of.
Yeah, it's like you're Einstein. It's like, well, you've cracked the code. People want to make more money if they can. Wow, you're a genius.
And men want their opinions to matter. That's crazy. Who'd have thunk it?
And I'm going to continue to lose weight. And then maybe when I finally do drop that next 65 pounds, we can revisit this conversation and see if you can actually stand on business. Because this time, none of you fucking did.
I wish I had the confidence to do stuff like that. I really do.
That's a hell of a first video. Like, yeah, I don't know what I do know what she's trying to achieve, but it's a horrible first message.
We're running it's all right. I'm just conscious of the time today, as you know. But I got this article, then we're gonna breeze through the next topic. Democrats rose over $20 million plot to win over young male voters. You can't buy authenticity. Critics have slammed Democrats for an inauthentic $20 million plan to study the syntax used by young men to win their votes. It's like men are a foreign species to them. Like, they can't figure it out. It's very odd. Democrats have been baffled as to why younger male voters are abandoning the party after the demographic swung to the right for Donald Trump in the November election. Looking ahead to the 2026 midterms and the next presidential election, Democrats are strategizing how to win back young male voters. How did the Trump campaign successfully harness big names online, including Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn? Joe Rogan and Theo Vaughn, both left-leaning people who have been pushed out of the Democratic Party. One project obtained by the New York Times revealed a $20 million plan code named SAM, short for Speaking with American Men, a strategic plan, and promises investment to study the syntax, language, and content that gains attention and virality in these spaces. The plan recommends buying advertisements in video games and noted, above all, we must shift from a moralizing tone. Buying advertisements in video games is not going to work. I gotta say, when I play a video game, it's normally for escapism. I don't want to be reminded of politics. I don't want to be reminded of the real world.
I don't want any fucking ads or any of that shit.
If I'm playing, yeah, exactly. I don't want to think about any of that stuff.
I don't care about any of that shit, yeah.
I think it was Kamala. Kamala released a Fortnite map, and like, what didn't move the needle? Well, 12-year-olds don't vote, and that's the biggest thing. And two, it's like people don't want to play Fortnite to think about politics. They're playing it to go kill other people in an online, game. It's like,
you're trying to take away guns. This game is about guns. What are you talking
well, there were no guns on that map.
I hate that they use the word baffled.
I think they are baffled.
No, that's bullshit. It's like them saying that they don't know who controlled the Autopen. It's like them saying that they didn't know that Biden was not cognitive. It's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. They know why young men don't want to be voting for them anymore. They just refuse to acknowledge it. They refuse to fix the problem. I don't think they're ever going to address it. I don't think they're ever going to change their stances that they've already established. And that's why. It's not baffled. That's why. It's pretty simple.
Well, the Democrats, they need a scapegoat for something, and their scapegoat has been for quite a while. It's been
if you're going to demonize young men, they're not going to vote for you.
Yeah, so I'm not going to.
You're going to always label us as the problem. They're not going to vote for you.
Well, I wouldn't consider myself young. I'm more like middle-aged now, but the point still that, but like I said, You ever watch these protests? It's like it's always like 65, 70-year-old people showing up, if they're men, and nobody else ever is there. And I don't know, there are no young men in the Democrat. I mean, there's not middle-aged men, there's not older men. It's only senior citizen men who are still in the Democrat Party. Really, it's kind of mind-boggling. But I don't want to read this whole thing. Listen, final note on this: I think if you want men back, and you might not be able to get all of them back because you spent the last 10 years demonizing them. You know, that's kind of hard to do, and then be like, oh, sure. You know, you do the South Park thing with that the CEO. We're sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Like,
pretty much. Yeah.
All right. We're going to move on from that. We want to talk about, we're going to the Autopen situation with Joe Biden, who is actually running the White House.
Who done it?
First, before we get into that, please leave a like on the video, comment down in the comments section, share it out with your friends and your enemies, share it out with a Democrat, give it to Olivia Giuliana.
Let us know how you think she's going to be effective. Let us know if you think she's going to swing the vote.
I don't think she's gonna swing the vote. I think maybe she'll. No, I'm not gonna say another.
Yeah,
not saying another. Not saying another fat joke. All right.
Yeah, leave it at that. Next topic.
They were just on The View last week. She was saying everything is fine. She's still lying to the American people. She still thinks the American public are so stupid that they're going to believe her lies. And frankly, it's insulting, and she needs to answer for it.
So what Caroline Levitt here, our fabulous press secretary, is referring to, probably a question asked by Peter Ducey. Shout out to him. Is obviously Joe Biden, and Joe Biden were on The View like a week or two ago. And, you know, I think we covered this clip too. And, you know, Joe Biden actually had to stop, and Joe Biden had to take over for him. He's obviously the guy is mentally unwell, but they're not going to come out and say that. They're going to still go on with this whole sham. No, he's perfectly fine. Somebody put together this interesting thing. An Autopen cannot grant pardons. Only the president has that authority. Who was operating the Autopen? We need a special counsel to find out. And this is a comparison of Biden's signatures and exactly, you know, how they are all, I mean, entirely identical. Like, there is no difference here. Which obviously, what does this tell us? Well, it looks like an Autopen. I mean, my signature probably looks, you know, similar. Most of the time, similar. This looks identical.
Yeah. Some interesting pardons there as well.
Yep. So this comes from President Trump here, from his Truth Social account. Other than the rigged presidential election of 2020, the biggest scandal in American history is the Autopen. Whoever used it was usurping the power of the presidency. And it should be very easy to find out who that person was. They did things that a Joe Biden of sound mind would never have done, like open the border, transgender for everyone, men and women's sports, and far more. Fear not, however, we will bring America back bigger, better, stronger than ever before. Vote Trump, 2028. It's gonna be great. Sorry, I added it myself. I don't think he's gonna run in 2028. But oh yeah, this is I looked into this because you said Elizabeth Warren might be tied to this scandal. I couldn't actually find anything about Elizabeth Warren here. I do have herself lying about being a Native American, so that's
there's been a couple names surfacing with the whole Autopen thing. I think people are just starting to get just thrown under the bus. Maybe they have something to do with it, maybe they don't. Maybe they're trying to distract. Who knows? I
tried to look into that. I don't think Elizabeth Warren has anything. Like, I mean, she's a senator from Democrat senator from Massachusetts. You know, her biggest scandal is she lied to get into university by claiming she was Native American. She ran on that to get into the Senate, and now, I was told that by my parents, but I'm not actually Native American. All Democrats are liars. What's that about? But I couldn't find anything linking her to the Autopen. She's definitely, I mean, she's as corrupt as Pelosi is, I would say. You know, she, her salary, I think, is $220,000 a year. She's worth $67 million. I don't know how that happens. I mean, I wish I could go get a job at like Wendy's or something. Can you imagine that though? If I had a job at like Wendy's or something, let's just, you know, for the sake of argument, I'm making, you know, $15 an hour. And then at the end of the year, I go to file my taxes and I'm worth $4 million. And they're like, well, You know, I just, it's like,
Yeah, how's this at?
Well, I would get investigated. I'm just saying, if I worked anywhere, I did that. You know,
I would get audited for
be
sure.
it a retail, factory, corporate, any place you'd get audited, except for some reason Congress. Congress is the only place you never get audited.
Politicians are above getting audited. Yeah.
Apparently so.
They get pardoned, but not audited.
Who is this from? This is the biggest scandal I could ever imagine in our lives. Pardon attorney Eagle Ed Martin says the DOJ will aggressively pursue justice if it discovers anyone broke the law with Biden's Autopen. We're going to go like hell against the people that did this to our country, and I really hope they do. Listen, this is like, you know, this is the cancer thing, now the Autopen thing, the mental acuity, and it even ties into the last segment with Olivia Giuliana.
It just keeps getting bigger and bigger.
You know, they're saying, well, we don't understand why people don't trust the Democrats, because you're not trustworthy.
Like, look at everything you've just, that's just been uncovered. Like, this is ridiculous.
I think, you know, if you want to do a criticism of the Republicans, I think the Republicans are wimps. I don't think they ever go far enough. And I really think now with having the House and the Senate, they're still not doing enough to get Trump's agenda passed. We don't know what's going to go on with Doge. It's probably not going to go through, even though Elon Musk spent all that time trying to save all the taxpayers' money. And, you know, but hey, the Republicans, they never go far enough, and the Democrats, they always go too far. All right,
we'll see how everything develops.
There's many laws that I would say apply to this. You know, someone brought up forgery. Forgery is the beginning of a conversation. I think fraud, you know, there's all kinds of aspects of fraud that could be done if somebody's making big money off of it. You know, there's many things. President Trump used in a Truth Social a post about treason, and I think as a member of DOJ, I'm going to, you know, tread carefully towards what I would describe as the likely crime. But there's a lot. If this was an abuse, like people are worried, there's a lot of crimes that were committed, and there will be.
If the facts show that it was,
if it seemed like he was talking fast, I had him on 1.5 speed. Yeah. Sorry, man. He doesn't actually talk that fast.
Happening, the DOJ will pursue aggressively justice.
The only way I know to do it is being aggressive, Glenn. You probably have seen this now. So yes, I mean, we're going to get to the bottom of the facts. We're going to apply it to the law, and we're going to go like hell against the people that did this to the country. And this is the biggest scandal I could ever imagine in our lives. There's never been anything like this.
Yep. And I think this ties in. This isn't just the Autopen thing. This is also the Biden mental acuity cover-up, the cancer cover-up, stuff that people say that doesn't make any. They would have known about the prostate cancer years ago. The mental acuity thing is something we could all see. I mean, I don't know when it started. Maybe he was fine, or maybe he wasn't slipping that much when he originally was elected president. But by 2022, I mean, it was pretty obvious to most people that he was slipping.
And interesting enough, he actually does talk pretty fast.
No, he's still on 1.25 speed.
Oh, okay.
No, he's not talking that. Let's see. Are you really talking that fast? Here, let's put him at 1.0
at this point. And so I hope it's it's a less.
No, he talks pretty normally.
Scandal than it looks like, but it's headed towards one of the most egregious things we've ever seen. So yes, people will be held accountable, and yes, they will be held accountable by prosecutions.
I really hope they do.
I hope they do too, but I have I don't have a lot of confidence in the Republicans.
Track record, it doesn't really build a lot of faith, but I hope they do.
All right, we got Scott Jennings again, who is Scott Jennings is probably our most featured guy on the show. I love going to clips from Scott Jennings. So
some really good, interesting views and policy.
He's the only reason to watch. It's the only reason to watch CNN. He is the only. I can get through a CNN segment if Scott Jennings is on there. If he's not, I can't.
I agree. It's being done out in the open. It's being done in the light of day. We're not doing it at the 11th hour here, or as we're on our way up to the cap.
He's referring to the presidential pardons that were being made, and how Republicans are out in the open about it, and the Democrats are doing it behind closed doors.
To see the next president being sworn in. And I might add, I don't think there's any doubt who's actually signing these pardons. You know, at the end of Biden's term, we had thousands of people that were pardoned or offered some kind of clemency for drug offenses. I have my doubts about whether Joe Biden signed all of those. And there's obviously, because of the new books that are out, clear reporting here that there was something of a Politburo running the White House at the end of the Biden administration when many of the most controversial pardons were issued. So in this case, Donald Trump, I think, is fully owning all of these decisions. And I agree with Ellie. In the Grimm case, if for no other reason than this paralysis that he suffered and the fact that he'd paid his debt, I think it's a defensible decision.
And in fact,
I agree. It's being done out in the open. It's being done.
Yeah.
So I agree with Scott Jennings. Even if by some miracle, because it's not for sure that Biden didn't know what was going on. There's a chance. There's a chance that he was aware of everything, but there's so much doubt around it that I think people should be talking about it. And obviously,
especially like he pointed out, at the end of the presidency is the most doubt, and there were thousands of pardons to really controversial pardons. So those are the ones that really are alarming to us right now, that we really need to find
there's
out,
always
okay,
controversial
who done it.
There's always controversial pardons. But
yeah, but if Biden, at the end of his presidency, again, that's when the most doubt was there of his competence, of his cognitive ability. So we need to figure out who did those pardons, who actually authorized those pardons.
Well, apparently that's what we're getting into this clip. James Comer is going to be subpoenaing Hunter and Jill. We'll see if anything comes of that. There were people running the government that were unelected. There was a shadow government in the Oval Office. The Autopen pardons were for sale. Joe Biden was never in charge of anything. Biden Gate is way bigger than Watergate. This is treason. And there were blanket pardons. Like there was a blanket pardon given to Dr. Anthony Fauci, who really heavily pushed the jab. And but he's never even been there's no charges brought against him. He's never been accused. I mean, he's been accused of a lot, but not by a court. And so that's the question.
Just in case charge,
but we've never done that before. How can you have a just in case type of thing? Hunter Biden as well. Okay, the gun charge that he was brought up on and he was convicted of, his father pardoned him for that. But Hunter also has a blanket 10-year window for pardons, which is, I mean, I don't know if you can do that. I thought you could only pardon people for specific crimes, but apparently
apparently you could pardon for future crimes too now.
Or past crimes that have not been brought yet, which I didn't know. Yeah. But that's a good picture of Joe. I gotta get pictures like that for the thumbnails.
The FBI is opening up an investigation into the cover-ups of the White House cocaine, the DNC pipe bomb, and the Supreme Court abortion leaks. The last 4 years, one big cover-up.
Yep.
Comer told us the other night that he's already subpoenaed Biden aides to come in for depositions. And he'll be issuing subpoenas to Hunter and Dr. Jill, too. Sometimes when you confess to a crime, you feel better. A big weight is taken off your shoulders. Liberal philosopher Sam Harris said, "I'd destroy democracy to beat Trump."
Yeah.
Even that is preferable to me and to, I think, many Democrats.
And this is what a lot of people around Biden were saying. It's like, we knew what we were doing was unethical. We knew it was undemocratic, but we didn't care because we thought the alternative, which was to see Trump return to the Oval Office, was such a great threat to our democracy that we decided to undermine our own democracy, which is
great stance.
It's a crazy stance to have. It's like, you think you're doing the ultimate good, but you're really committing evil.
To protect our democracy, we're going to ruin our democracy.
We have to destroy our democracy to protect our democracy. Wild trains of thought.
Having someone who we consider to be genuinely evil, genuinely 100% purposed to serving himself in the office of the presidency. I would rather have a president in a coma, where the duties of the presidency are executed by a committee of just normal people.
Well, that's completely undemocratic. I mean, that right there, that should tell you how unhinged these people are, how deranged they actually are. You don't want to let, and this is, can we not call the 2020 election? Oh no, the 2020 election was fair. All these votes just popped up overnight. You don't understand how it works. Ugh. These people will do anything to hold on to power. They are greedy. They are hungry, and they shouldn't be trusted. This is the Democrats' issue. It goes beyond young men. It really does. They cannot be trusted. They've done so much stuff. How can they be trusted?
Faith is very hard to have with the Democratic Party right now, especially with everything that's been uncovered.
I don't blame anybody for jumping ship. I really don't. And I don't know how they can blame people for jumping ship. It's like they're just they should really scrap their party and rebuild it from the ground up.
Why are they baffled? There's no baffled for me. It's very plain and clear. Why? Everything we're talking about.
Because a cover-up like this probably would have worked 100 years ago when it was just newspaper tabloids.
Yeah, when there wasn't enough information.
But now in the age of social media where people can share ideas freely, you really can't. It's got to be a lot. It has to be a lot harder to be in the public eye these days than ever before. Especially when you're doing shady stuff. A lot of these
politicians are starting to finally realize that they can't get away with what they used to get away with. Hopefully it keeps happening more and more.
And Biden, I mean,
this shit is fucking ridiculous.
His credibility is, it's just like he's going to go down as one of the worst presidents in history. It's like
I hope nobody ever pays for him to do another freaking speech.
I doubt it.
seminar
I'm sure
ever
about.
again.
I'm sure
That is
behind.
ridiculous.
I'm sure behind closed doors, the DNC is like, stop, please stop. You need to go away.
So the conspiracy that Biden wasn't running the country wasn't a conspiracy.
Yep.
It was their strategy.
The difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth is about 6 months.
It's all coming out. Democrats wanted a brain-dead president with a shadow government and campaigned on saving democracy.
Yep.
If Joe had somehow won, unknown Biden handlers would have run the country.
Yep.
They would have controlled the situation.
Oh, if Kamala had won too. You don't think Kamala has handlers? I guarantee you Kamala has handlers. Now, I mean, now every president obviously has a cabinet. They have people around them they can trust. They delegate responsibilities. That's perfectly normal. But to this extent, I don't think Biden was in charge. And that, obviously, is the question who was in charge. And if Kamala got elected, obviously,
President's duties are the responsibility of the president, and that was not the case with Biden. And it probably would not be.
It wouldn't have been the case with Harris either. It would have been the same team going in, and they would be directing her around, and we don't have any idea who's running things. At least with Trump, you know, with all the stuff he does, you could be like, you know, Trump's definitely running things.
Those are his decisions. Yeah, those are definitely his actions and decisions.
Situation room while Biden was taking a nap. Unnamed Biden aides say this: Biden just had to win, and then he could disappear for 4 years.
Wow.
He'd only have to show proof of life every once in a while. His aides could pick up the slack.
Wow. That's crazy.
And they just told you Trump was Hitler to justify beating him by any means necessary. That means lying to you, arresting him, maybe even shooting him. Because if they covered up Biden, why wouldn't they cover up Butler?
That's true.
This was a
We still don't know anything about that person who shot at Trump. We do know he was in a BlackRock video, oddly, and we know the second guy who tried to assassinate Trump was also in a BlackRock video. Coincidence?
Shady crew.
Interesting.
But these aides were not even Senate confirmed aides. These are a White House aides. These were unelected people. And one of the things that really, I think, comes out in our reporting here is that if you believe, and I think a lot of these people do sincerely believe that Donald Trump was and is an existential threat to democracy.
TDS,
you
baby.
can rationalize anything, including sometimes doing undemocratic things, which I think is what this person is talking about.
Of course.
Yep. And it makes total sense.
I'm going to say, like, you know, going back to
If you want to save it, you got to do undemocratic things.
Going back to that whole Olivia Giuliana thing, it's like you have such a bigger issue than trying to get young men back on the ticket for the Democrats. There is so much mistrust of like the entire Democrat regime.
Your own Democratic aides are admitting.
I'm not even
what
gonna
everyone
call,
knew.
I don't even call it a party anymore. It's a regime. That's what it is.
That's.
You want to talk about fascism? I mean, like this is lit.
You know what's baffling? That they're baffled.
Yeah, I would say
That's
so.
baffling.
So we talked about this. This is a little bit about that. James Comer open to hauling Biden before panel for hearing on his cognitive state Autopen use. From Washington, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer said Wednesday he's open to dragging former President Joe Biden before the panel as part of his probe into the 82-year-old's cognitive state and use of an Autopen. Despite not ruling out ruling the possibility out, Comer, representative or Republican from Kentucky, wondered during an appearance on Fox News, Hannity, whether it would be even worthwhile to bring the 46th president before the powerful investigative committee. We're going to see who was giving the directive to sign these, Comer said. If everyone says it was Joe Biden, then I'm certainly open to bring him in. And again, they might not even do that because he's an old man, yada, yada,
Well,
yada.
you know what? At this point, though, like that, you can't use that excuse because this is what we're trying to figure out.
He used that excuse 2 years ago with in the Her report about the classified documents, and that totally sold.
But it got covered, and it got covered up. At this point, that cover-up got exposed. There's no more cover-ups, especially not with this presidency. So hopefully I need to see video of this guy in there and answering questions.
Can you take over through
Let's
these?
see how cognitive he is.
Take over through these couple paragraphs. I will be right back. Sorry.
All right. So right here we have last week, Comer blasted out letters to 5 different confidants of the former president, including ex-White House Dr. Kevin O'Connor, demanding interviews with Biden's mental and physical decline, about Biden's mental and physical decline. I'd love to see that too, because there's just so many questions surrounding it that they're refusing to give an answer for. All 5 have made initial contact with the panel through their attorneys. Shocker. though the threat of subpoenas remains in force if they bulk at the questioning. I hope so. Don't drop it. Keep going after it till they ultimately, till I'd say actually Joe ultimately proves what needs to be proved. That he is not at the right state of mind currently or previously, and couldn't tell you who used the Autopen. Couldn't tell you who he signed the Autopen for. Couldn't tell you why he signed the Autopen. Or couldn't tell you why he signed for any of those. I want them to really come out, not hammer Joe. Nobody needs to tie him up to a table and Chinese water torture him. But somebody needs to ask him some questions at the very least.
Yeah, we'll see if the Republicans do that. They are not really known for that.
I read the first, the 2 paragraphs on there, and I basically said, like, I really hope they don't stop this. Keep, if you have to, subpoena them. If you have to, subpoena him. I'm sorry. And the questions need to be answered by
Well,
him.
they should at this point. I think it's in the benefit of the American people to know, who was in charge, who's running things, who was doing the signing. Did you know about this? Did you know about that? I guarantee he didn't know about most of the stuff that was going on. He was on vacation for 540 days out of what, like 1,300? Like about a year and a quarter, a year and a half, year and a third, something to that effect. That you were on vacation. Quite a long time on vacation, Joe. So somebody was running all that stuff while you were on vacation for all those days in Delaware or whatever. Quote, we expect all witnesses to fully comply with the committee's investigation. The committee will issue subpoenas if necessary.
Yep.
No former president has given sworn testimony before Congress, says Gerald Ford in 1983. The since defunct House Select Committee investigating the January 6, 2021 Capitol riot subpoenaed President Trump for testimony in 2022, but he declined to appear. Look, I would love to ask Joe Biden a lot of questions, but right now we're starting with the staffers who were operating the Autopen, Comer went on. We're going to bring the physician, Dr. O'Connor, in because he definitely was not telling the truth about Joe Biden's health. Yeah, 100%. And they should be doing this. The American people deserve answers, and I hope, listen, the Republicans, they always talk a big game, but then they always end up folding and they end up going back on their word. I hope they don't do that this time. I hope they really...
No matter what some people in the Democratic Party think, this is still a democracy, and they need to abide by the democracy.
Well,
We need answers.
Evidently they don't, because they weren't. But yeah, let's see. Because if they're not held accountable, then obviously they don't have to. And just given the Republicans' track record, I think the Republicans are right to do this. I think Democrats or Republicans should be calling for this.
Yes.
But we know that's not going to happen.
Transparency. Come on. The government should be transparent with this type of things.
All right, we're going to leave that there. We'll probably have more news about that later. We're moving on. Really quick, if you like the video, please leave a like on it. Leave a comment down below what you thought of that segment, how you think we're doing, or what do you think of the whole Biden scandal? Was he the person in charge of the Autopen? Who do you think was in charge of the Autopen? Is it a big nothing burger?
Know who's in charge of the Autopen?
Will Comer actually bring people before Congress and do anything about it?
I hope so.
But we're moving on to some internet slop drama now.
Yay.
My favorite topic. Duke doesn't know as much about this because he's not terminally online like I am. But
yeah, I'm not a slop content person.
I consume the slop, and I've held off on this for a while. I think we did a segment on Hassan Piker last week. But this is more in regards to Creator Clash. Now, I'm not going to go into this too much, but Creator Clash 1 and 2 was run by the Jomas, Anisa and her husband. And the first one was a big success. The second one lost $250,000. And the third one was set to go off in June in Tampa, I believe. Sometime in June. And they actually had to bow out of this because he attacked his friend who was like the only person supporting Creator Clash. Ticket sales weren't going very well, and they decided, because they put themselves in the controversy, they were going to remove themselves from the whole situation. So what's going to happen now is these people are going to explain that Creator Clash is now going to be in LA in October. So, for all they're going to refund tickets, which is very nice, but for all the people who have already bought plane tickets and all the people who already have hotel rooms, all the people who have taken off of work, because some people are very into this. And I'm sure some people have taken off the week of work to go down there and see this. Well, I guess you're just screwed. And I highly doubt
pissed off people.
I highly doubt those people are going to transfer over and go to LA in October. But
Maybe some. I'm sure some, but a good chunk, I guarantee you, are going to be pretty pissed off with a taste in their mouth after this.
I agree. But that's not really the fault. I mean, really, this is I mean, Anisa and iDubbbz have bowed out of this right now, and they're like, oh, we're not responsible anymore. But it's kind of like, you know, when you're on the Titanic, right? And you're the captain of the ship, and you see the iceberg ahead, and you know you can't turn, and then, you know, 5 minutes before it hits, you're like, well, I'm out of here. I'm going to get a lifeboat before I can announce it to anybody that it's going down. That's pretty much what they did. But let's listen to these guys here. They're going to explain a little bit about it.
It like started out with like such a positive mission statement. That's why I wanted to be involved in the first place. Like, it is like such a cool idea. A bunch of creators getting fit, punching each other in the face, and it's for charity. Like, I feel like it just, the message is so inherently...
It's not really for charity. That's a lie, but I'll get into that in a little bit.
Positive, that it's a shame that it became this dramatic internet thing that it never should have been, and I'm just very glad that attempts are being made to fix all that.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest questions that people have is about how the event was run in the past and what is going to be different about it now, because obviously the first year was crazy successful. There was over $1.3 million raised, and so that was incredible.
First year was incredibly successful, and a lot of money went to charity. The only real controversy was they banned Sam Hyde from going in after he already spent $10,000 on tickets, because iDubbbz, who apparently didn't want $10,000 for charity, has a personal vendetta against Sam Hyde because he couldn't puppeteer him around in his documentary. But I'm not going to get into that either. Sorry, a little context. Let's hear what these guys got to say.
Second year, you know, we upped the stakes, we made it a little bigger, and unfortunately it did not pan out in the way that we wanted, and there was no money raised for charity, which was so heartbreaking, like especially like fighting in it, putting all of that time and energy into doing this thing. And like, I know for a lot of us, especially you, Alana, you are always doing charity stuff, and to put yourself in the ring to fight, a big reason that we did it was because it was like, okay, it's for a good cause, it's for charity, and then when you go and do it and no money is raised for charity, that sucks.
Yeah, I've been pretty candid with you about this, Aaron, about like how disappointed I was and how like burnt I felt by it. And I was talking to a separate fighter who's not in the room about this just yesterday. It was like, you work so hard. I had a family member who was in the hospital with cancer at the time, and the thing that like kept me going, that stopped me from quitting and just going to be with them, was I was like, this is for charity. You're raising money for charity. You're raising money for a good cause. You got to keep going. And it was so hard. And then when I found out that we didn't, I think I cried. Like, I was so.
So these guys are basically, they're now in charge of the charity. They're going to try to fix this dumpster fire that the Jomas have pretty much left them. They're going to a smaller arena. Hey, from Big Bungie, shout out to Big Bungie, the king. I wish he was still on YouTube. He's off of there, but he's got a Patreon. Actually, I would say everybody should go support Big Bungie's Patreon. I'm not normally in favor of supporting Patreons, but Big Bungie's worth it. They're going from Creator Clash to the arena, which was, you know, obviously you can see huge arena, to this little arena, which is probably going to be a better venue. You know, they only going to sell out 4,000 seats instead of 21,000 seats, which seems a lot more doable.
Yeah.
But the real issue here is, you know, all this controversy basically got stirred up. I mean, it probably wouldn't have been successful anyway, but it all got stirred up from the Jomas, and fighters have been dropping out left and right. LA Beast has dropped out. He was on the main card fight. He was set to fight Harley Morenstein. He also has already dropped out. He dropped out before him. I know Lena's dropped out. I think there's one or two other creators who have dropped out. People don't want to be associated with this anymore. And they're going to cite a laundry list of reasons. Multiple red flags and irreversible damage it can do to one's brand by being associated. Selfishness on the part of a select few has taken away from the charity aspect and the fighters who put in sacrifice. Now, for a while, this charity aspect has been called into question. Meet the Jomas here. This is iDubbbz. This is his lovely wife, Anisa, who were the founders of Creator Clash and the people who have ran it into the ground for the past 2 years. Now, they're only taking credit for Creator Clash 2 because they bailed out like a week ago, so they are no longer culpable with anything that happens, even though it was iDubbbz's content cop on his good buddy Ethan Klein that really torpedoed this whole thing. But there's more interesting developments coming out here. But let's listen to iDubbbz here for a little bit. he's going to blame Ethan, or he says the internet will blame Ethan for the failure of Creator Clash, which I don't think it will, and it hasn't so far.
Yeah,
but
let's hear from
now with this recent revelation that people are just going to use Creator Clash to attack Anisa and I, Anisa and I have decided to step away from Creator Clash.
This guy made his career doing content nukes and content cops on people trying to trash their career and get them canceled, mind you. But if you criticize his OnlyFans wife for, showing her butthole for a price, then that's a step too far. How dare you? How dare you?
It's been really disheartening to see how often Ethan will attack Creator Clash through us or attack us through Creator Clash. He's saying the event is going to be worse than TanaCon. Can't wait for them to blame us for their failed event.
Yep.
Don't worry, Ela. I'm not going to blame you guys for anything Creator Clash related. I know you're terrified of taking accountability for anything, so...
Oh, the irony.
That will rest solely on my shoulders. But I can't speak for the internet. The internet might actually blame you guys for it.
I don't think so.
Now, with this recent revelation...
The internet is not blaming them. They're blaming the Jomas.
I'm not catching that logic.
Now,
He's just trying to deflect.
whenever anybody has criticized Creator Clash, why can't I say Clash? Sorry. Whenever anybody has criticized Creator Clash in the past, they have always gone, oh, it's a charity event, it's a charity event, it's a charity event. Okay. Or raising money for kids with cancer. Very noble thing, if it happens to be true. But it turns out that this charity event that everyone was doing from the goodness of their hearts, the founders of it, Anisa and Ian, were taking 34% of the profits off the top. Now, I understand everybody's got to get paid. I get that, but like 34% seems pretty.
A third of the profits. Yeah.
One, they're not. Ian fought in the past 2 events. He was not fighting this time. He decided not to. Anisa has never fought in the event. I don't know. They're like the influencer organizers. There are other organizers behind the scenes who I don't know what they do because that hasn't really been disclosed, but they probably do most of the actual organizing of the event. But let's see. Do the fighters get paid? Yes, each fighter receives a guaranteed purse to help cover training and preparation expenses. In addition, 20% of net profits from the event will be evenly split among all fighters. All right. I mean, it's a charity thing, but I would say that's fair. They are putting in time, and they are. It takes a long time to train for these events.
And the physical toll it takes on you.
But this is what really is getting people going. A further 34% profit share, originally allocated to Ian and Anisa, is also being redistributed among the fighters following their departure. They were pocketing 34% from a charity event.
Yeah.
That they're not even promoting.
And Anisa didn't even fight in it.
No, she doesn't fight. She has.
Yes, she was getting 34%, half of 34%.
Well, I mean, they're married, so yeah. I mean, it all goes in the same place, I would imagine. But the whole thing is, it's just like 34% seems like an awful lot to be taking from a charity event, especially when all you're doing is like, I mean, you're not really even promoting the event. There's really been no promotion around this. The biggest promotion around this has been their controversies, not them specifically going out and supporting it. So iDubbbz made this really pathetic post on Reddit. I'll read it quick. I wanted to clear some things up now that Anisa and I are no longer a part of Creator Clash. When I announced Creator Clash 3 and its new business model, the communication wasn't clear. Looking back on my video and the current reaction, it's obvious it was too vague. Of course, everything he does is too vague. It's like he is content cop on Ethan Klein. Oh, he's crashing out for no reason. No, he's crashing out because somebody called CPS on his children and somebody mailed actual human skulls to his house. That is a perfectly valid reason to crash out.
Yeah. Yep.
But iDubbbz doesn't, he's not very transparent. This guy's a snake. He snakes his friend of 10 years. I mean, he'll snake anybody. But it remains true that I earned a fight purse for Creator Clash 1, along with the other fighters, and we did not profit at all from Creator Clash 2. After Creator Clash 2 failed to raise any money for charity, we knew it was time for a different business model. We restructured so that the funds of our charity partner would be raised on Tiltify, separate and apart from the actual event. So, if what can be believed here, if this can be believed, and this is actually true, you lost $250,000 in your last event. You realize the structure was bad. So you decide in this event, before anything's been given to charity, what you're going to do is you're going to take 34% of the profits off of the top. And
that
then
way
you're gonna
you're
have
guaranteed at least.
well, but then you're gonna have a separate donation page for the charity. So this isn't really about charity. This is a boxing event per capitalism to make money.
You're trying to make money. Yeah, they're trying to make money.
They're trying to make money off of with a charity of. I mean, it's like if I go to McDonald's.
Attaching the word charity to it.
If I go to McDonald's and they have, you know about McDonald's. They have those little boxes for the Ronald McDonald House.
Mm-hmm.
So am I supposed to be like, well, am I donating? Yes, it's an aspect of it. But when I go to McDonald's, I don't think charity because they have the little Ronald McDonald box.
No.
That's exactly what they're pretty much saying. They're absolutely pathetic. We then decided that this year we would take a profit share from the for-profit side of the event. Should the for-profit side of the event succeed? I feel sorry for any confusion Anisa and I caused. We know the event is in good hands now and wish it all the success. I mean, the event's probably in the toilet.
If the event did make money, they were going to take 34%.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds like for profit for me.
Yeah, I would say so. And that wouldn't even be a big deal. But you market this as a charity event, and it's like, clearly it's not.
Yeah,
it's not a charity event.
It's a promoted event with the charity name attached to it.
And you could get away with this too if you were like, okay, we're taking like 10%, 15%. People would probably be like, oh, okay, well, you guys are the founders, you're doing stuff. 34% is a hell of a lot.
Yeah, to take a third right off the top, that's crazy.
These people are socialist Marxists, by the way. They hate capitalism. They hate landlords. But they it seems like all the champagne socialists, they have no problem ever making money.
Off the top,
they have no problem, using capitalism.
Fucking hypocrites, man.
We're going to get into this video. I'm going to speed it up a little bit from Froggy Fresh. Now, Froggy Fresh is part of this drama because he was supposed to fight in Creator Clash 2. But because he worked with Sam Hyde, they would not allow Froggy Fresh on the card to fight.
Wow.
Which is really weird because Harley Morenstein in Creator Clash 1 worked with Sam Hyde, and he was allowed to compete. Oh, he also did make a joke about if he lost a fight, he would subscribe to Anisa's OnlyFans, and apparently that was a bridge too far. Which I don't really think that's insulting. Your wife has an OnlyFans, man. I don't know.
Pretty sure anyone's allowed to.
Don't you want people? Don't you?
Yeah.
Well, he made a joke about it, but
I'm not typically the guy that does the news. I'm not good at it. But we just found out today that Aaron Hansen hates iDubbbz and Anisa. He posted on his website that they are taking 34% of all of the money.
Yep. I don't know if I can play this because it's got the whole background thing. Sorry, Froggy. I wanted to hear from you. Justice for Froggy. Hey, justice for Fatty, too. They never paid Fatty Fresh for doing or no, not Fatty Fresh, sorry. They never paid Airsoft Fatty for doing the national anthem. Justice for Fatty as well. I guess the whole, and H3's been going through roasting iDubbbz, which iDubbbz deserves a lot of criticism. And you can read this out here. Ian lost his virginity to Anisa, and he had never had a girlfriend or been with a woman before that. This is what he told me shortly before he started dating her. And listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a virgin, personally. I know there is a lot of societal pressure on men to lose their virginity, probably mostly by like their friend group and stuff like that.
Yeah, peer pressure.
We actually had this discussion a little bit before we launched this show. There's a lot of societal pressure, and I can see how, if you're 28 years old and you haven't launched your V card yet, you got to kind of be like, ugh. But
probably good on that.
Well, so some people just are not great at talking to women, approaching women, and iDubbbz doesn't seem like he was. But I'm just saying, he got with this girl, and it's like this girl like sniped him. Like she knew who he was, how to get in there. He made a content cop on Leafy is here. She tried to get with Leafy before him. Before that, she was trying to get with Chris Raygun. She wanted to get with somebody who was popular on a streaming platform or YouTube or something like that. Yeah, to launch herself, to build her brand, because she was pretty much, she was a booby streamer before that. But just the downfall of iDubbbz really can all be traced to this Yoko Ono that he's kind of attached himself to. And I don't even know if I call her Yoko Ono, because Yoko Ono at least was making records, albeit I would say bad records, but she was doing stuff before she met John Lennon, where Anisa really was not. So, this he's a precautionary tale. If you marry the wrong woman, you change yourself for a woman, you can lose everything.
Could be your downfall, yeah.
But last thing I'm going to note on this, I think there is one possible way to save Creator Clash 3, and it's the fight that everybody really wants. It would be Hassan Piker here versus the Candyman. Now, this fight would never happen, even though I know Sam Hyde would agree to it immediately. But he definitely gives Hassan an everlasting gobstopper. But I don't think it's not going to happen. Oh yeah, here's Ice Poseidon down here too. I know they try to get him in the event. This would save the event though, if they could somehow convince Hassan to do it. I don't think Hassan would ever do it, even though he's famous for saying he wants to punch Nazis. He says Sam Hyde is a Nazi. It seems like the perfect thing, but Hassan is terrified of the Candyman, and but it would save the event. So yeah, if anybody can get in touch with Hassan, please.
I wonder why he wouldn't want to fight him.
Oh, well, I pulled this up. This is Hassan training, which I guess Hassan does train. I don't, it's probably just to keep in shape. He's not a fighter. Neither is Sam Hyde. They're both, just one's a political streamer, the other one's an comedian, influencer type guy. But
that's Hassan.
That's Hassan Piker. Yep. Jeez.
That right there.
No, that's Sam Hyde. If that was Hassan, he would be knocked out. But yeah, clearly it's like one of them. I would definitely bet on one of them over the other one. And Hassan is obviously, he's terrified of the Candyman.
Oh, you know it, lad. You know that Hassan Piker. I'm coming to kill you.
I would love to see this fight. It would never happen because Hassan is scared shitless of Sam Hyde. And I don't know, if I was getting the bag, depending on how much money, maybe I would step into the ring with the Candyman. But I mean, I don't think I could win, man. Like,
he looks pretty intense, that's for sure.
Yeah, you wouldn't mess with the Candyman. But like I said, the main point of this is this. This is the only thing I see saving the event. You need two big names like this, and that's another problem too. All the names they have, they're influential and whatnot, and they're known for their audiences. But these are like the biggest people on the internet. You need people like this to headline your card. But Sam has been unfairly blacklisted since Creator Clash 1. He can't even attend the events, even though he spent $10,000 in tickets the one time. They wouldn't let him pass the Sam Hyde, the Ghost of Kiev over here. Yeah. They wouldn't they wouldn't let him pass the door because pretty much iDub went up to I think he was in Rhode Island, I think he is. Went up to punk him with a documentary, and Sam Hyde just completely flipped the script on him and really messed with iDubbbz's head. Really messed up his self-confidence. And ever since then they've been enemies, even though it's kind of like a one-sided thing. I think, iDubbbz hates Sam Hyde. I don't think Sam Hyde really cares, like it doesn't really seem to bother him at all, but anyway, we're gonna be moving on to our last topic here, but really quick, if you like the video, if you don't want the Candyman to come find you, you should leave a like on the video. You should comment down below, or he will show up and give you an everlasting gobstopper.
Would you fight him?
Me? No. So the last topic we have here is, a very interesting thing coming out of Hawaii. And it comes from their governor. I forget the name of him now. I think I wrote it down somewhere. I want to say Seth Green, but I know that's not right. What's the name of this?
Al Green?
Al Green, that's it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Al Green.
Well, I feel like that's not right either. Josh Green. Sorry, Governor Josh Green has decided that he is going to implement a climate tax, the first ever instituted in America, for anyone who wants to visit any of the islands of Hawaii. You'll soon be paying more to get yourself some aloha time. Hawaii is placing a new tax on tourists to fund climate change projects. The tax is the first of its kind in the nation. You see, Hawaii enacts Nation's first climate change tax on hotel rooms. And it's also going to apply to cruise ships as well. Now, the tax itself is only 0.75%. So if you're spending $1,000 a night on a hotel room, it'll only be an additional $750. I'm not sure what it's going to be for cruise ships yet. However, I think this sets a very dangerous precedent for visitors, especially with, Hawaii is made up mainly of a tourist economy. I think about 75 to 80% of its infrastructure comes from tourism. And I think all this is going to do, is piss people off and try to dissuade them from going to Hawaii.
Kind of makes me wonder if they're trying to push a certain type of demographic out.
Well, this wouldn't affect any of the natives that are there or any of the people living there. This is only for people visiting.
Oh, that's true, yeah.
But Hawaii's had that problem for years and years and years, that the natives, unless they, unless you make a ton of money, which is very hard to do on the islands because it's a tourist economy, you're working at a hotel, a restaurant, or working for the state maybe, But, it's very hard. I mean, not that there aren't doctors and stuff like that, there are, but there's such a scarcity of jobs that most of them do fall into the tourist industry. So basically, I've talked to people from there. I visited a couple times, and I actually really like Hawaii. I think it's a nice place. It's enjoyable to go. It's very far to get to, though, from the East Coast especially. It's a slog. I think maybe going to especially in light of this, I think going to the Caribbean probably would be better. Because it's like a 3-hour trip instead of, a 12-hour one.
Definitely more cost effective.
But this guy is saying, Eric Daugherty is saying, lunacy. Hawaii will now charge a climate impact fee on visitors. This tax will fund climate change projects and be collected on travelers staying in hotel, vacation rentals, and cruise ships. People are saying this will backfire bad. Where are the activist judges? This violates the interstate commerce clause of the Constitution, as well as the privileges and immunity protections we enjoy. Feels like taxation without representation. Thank you so much. I needed one last reason to avoid a Hawaiian 2-week vacation. This is the clincher. Now I will spend my money on gasoline touring lower 48. This would seem to be an interstate commerce violation since the tax does not apply to locals. And what is the money going towards once it's collected? That is a good point.
That's exactly what I was questioning.
The problem with, I'm going to play this clip and then I'm going to get into the whole issue with how really the whole state of Hawaii really is terrible at managing their own funds. But I want to play this of Josh Green here. Sorry, before I couldn't remember. I
didn't know this was one of the governor's powers.
I don't think, like I said, there might be some violations, as people were saying over here. They could be to interstate commerce violations, privilege and immunity protections. I don't know. It seems like such a weird thing. I don't know if it's legal. I don't know why they would do this, because obviously the one thing you're doing is you're shooting in the foot is tourism. And like it or not, because I know some Hawaiians are like, okay, well, we know we exist for tourism. Some really hate that. Some are all right with it. Some, I'm sure nobody loves it, but some are fine with it. Some hate it. And I get both sides of that. But
I'm sure the people that make a living off of it like it.
Well, they have to. I mean, they have a tourism-based economy. It's like it's just what it is. But we're gonna hit Democrat Governor of Hawaii Josh Green has officially signed the first climate change tax in the U.S. into law, labeled a green fee. The tax will target tourists on Hawaii Island, requiring them to contribute for their carbon footprint. Oh, well. I do have a video of Kilauea erupting over here. Will Kilauea also be charged for its carbon footprint, because it's emitting a lot of gases into the air?
Yeah.
That'll be the next. It'll be a volcano tax. They should
charging it.
They should charge Kilauea by the. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Oh, wait a minute. Cruise ship passengers will also be included, paying a prorated tax based on how many days their ship is docked at a Hawaiian port. Set to take effect in January, the law will impose a 0.75% tax on visitors staying in hotels and short-term
That's gonna
rentals.
make people not want to go there.
Yeah, I think it will.
Just to avoid that extra fee.
Or if you want to go there, set to take effect in January, so get there before the end of the year.
I mean, I've never traveled there, but I don't think it's that cheap to go there, is it?
No, Hawaii's, it depends. All the islands are like priced a little bit differently.
It just got more expensive though.
It got a bit more expensive. I'm not even sure of the, like I said, a 0.75% tax for visitors, if you tack that on.
Not a lot.
But the implication of it is not good. Can Florida start doing this? Can California start doing this? Can Alaska start doing this?
It's
Texas?
Day, so if you're there for a week, $750 every single day, I mean,
we're not. We're both from Pennsylvania. We're not from a tourism place, really, and not where we are. But I mean, but what about like Florida? They could do this. Texas, California, Alaska.
Are we saying
Maine?
Are we saying countries should charge us to
North Carolina, South Carolina? I mean,
this opens the door definitely for some really unnecessary.
It does. It's
extra taxes. Yay, extra taxes. I love it.
He's a Democrat, so extra taxes, they fix everything.
Freaking A.
So here is Josh Green
Years of political
signing
back and
this
forth,
bill
the
into
pen
law.
finally hit the paper.
I hope that the world is watching, because having something that is a balance between industry and environment is going to be the way to go forward to protect your people.
Senate Bill 1396, now Act 96, creates what's being called a climate impact fee, also known as the green fee. The 0.75% increase to the state
Hold on. Gotta go back. What did he say?
paper.
I hope that the world is watching, because having something that is a balance between industry and environment is going to be the way to go forward to protect your people.
To protect your people. I'm gonna come back to that. Sorry.
Senate Bill 1396, now Act 96, creates what's being called a climate impact fee, also known as the green fee. The 0.75% increase to the state's transient accommodation tax hikes the TAT to 11% for tourism-related activities, including hotels and cruise ships. To break that down, for every $400 spent, $3 will go towards natural resource protection. The bill is projected to raise an estimated $100 million a year to address what the state says is about $500 million in critical funding needed to protect Hawaii's natural
To protect people.
To protect the locals.
No. Well, and that's interesting because it's like, there are 137 islands in the Hawaiian archipelago. 8 of them are considered the main islands that we refer to as Hawaii. Now, Hawaii has a very terrible track record with selling off their land to rich people. This dates back to the 1850s when they sold Niihau to the Robinson family. This goes up to when they sold Lanai to the former CEO of Oracle for $300 million. 98% of the island, where 3,000 people still live. But somehow the entire island is owned, except for I think the city of Lanai itself, is owned by Larry Ellison. But this goes to Oprah, who bought 2,000 acres of land, 2,000 acres in Maui for $6,000 an acre. Mark Zuckerberg, I don't know what he paid for his land, but he owns 550 acres on Kauai. And Hawaiians, native Hawaiians, or people who just live there, because it's a big melting pot. Now there's Filipinos, there's, Caucasians, there's Asians, native Hawaiians, Latinos. We're all getting priced out of their homes. How Hawaiians, the best chance they have to stay in Hawaii is if they get a house passed down from their family. And the Hawaiian government has no problem with selling the land out right from under their own people. But now apparently they're going to, this is just some stupid scam to make money.
Apparently, yeah, that tax is to help those same people that they regularly screw over. But yes, yeah, let's do that.
Well,
let's pay an extra tax.
Let's see here. I wanted to pull this up. I was going to use it a little later. We all remember in August of 2023, there was a devastating fire in Lahaina where most of the city burned down. This was about a year and a half ago, a little longer than that, a year, 8 months, something like that. So, and I'm not going to read this whole thing. I just want to,
just a reminder of what happened.
No. This isn't a reminder of what happened. A year and a half since fires devastated the historic town of Lahaina on the island of Maui, Hawaii, only 6 houses have been rebuilt. 6 out of more than 2,000. So you're telling me you care so... Listen, if you really cared for the local people, and I know it can't be easy to rebuild an entire town, but you're telling me in a year and a half you have 6 houses up. 6.
I don't know. I mean, I've seen plenty of content creators and organizations build houses in remote locations, in jungles, in Africa, and wherever else, in South America, Central America, all that stuff. And apparently they could do it, but we Americans can't figure out how to do it on one of our states.
And I'm not really. I mean, they're gonna give permitting regime. Bans contract a lot of the people, as I mentioned before, because they do inherit houses from their family members, their grandfather. Then Hawaii has only been a state since 1959. Some of these structures, they never had insurance. Some of the people don't even outright own the land because they already were on the land before that, so they don't have deeds. And it's like all these problems that could be addressed, and you're focused on The one thing that brings money to your economy, the tourists. Like I said, there's a point to be made. Oh, we don't want tourists in Hawaii. I get that. I can see how that stance would make sense. But what are you going to do otherwise? I mean, your economy is dependent on it. It would.
Yeah. How other ways are you going to support your infrastructure?
Yeah, it'd be very. You'd have to revitalize everything. It'd be very difficult. But what was I saying? Going back to this, Hawaii's first in the nation climate change tourist tax expected to generate nearly $100 million annually. Honolulu.
And that's only if the numbers of tourism stays high as what they're projecting. If they take a hit to tourism, they're not going to make $100 million.
Well, tourism has gone down in the past few years. Obviously, with COVID,
maybe they're projecting it to keep going down. I don't know.
Obviously,
I highly doubt it's going to go up.
Well, there's a couple factors. During the pandemic, obviously, people were not allowed to go, and also a lot of people canceled trips and whatnot if they were going to Maui because they were told to stay away because of the fires in 2023. And they're saying it slowly is recovering and yada yada yada. But that's all factors, and I get it. You don't want to be on Maui while there's a fire is going on in people's lives. It's not like a place you want to be vacationing.
Now, do you want to go to Maui when it's just completely destroyed and not rebuilt?
Well, it's only Lahaina.
You know what I mean?
Lahaina is the only place that isn't. But now, I mean, they put out a travel advisory. They said, you can come back and yada yada yada. But like they said, the tourism has not reached
the ruins.
The tour. Well, Lahaina, yeah. The tour. I actually was in Maui, not in 2024. So I actually did see that. Yeah, they're rebuilding structures, but it's like, the whole town is gone. You can't actually go into the zone, but like you can see it when you're driving by because it's just, you take that highway if you're going up to the west side. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, a lot of people lost their homes, their lives and whatnot. And it's kind of sickening to think that it's like, then you have these poachers coming in there being like, hey, you can't rebuild. You need all these permits. You got no place to live. Let me take your land. And that's valuable, very valuable land. And if this guy, Josh Green, or the state of Hawaii actually cared about the people who live there like he says he would be addressing that, not this stupid tourism tax that is only going to drive people from not going to Hawaii. Some people are not going to do it, not because of the 0.75 tax, but off of principle. They won't go.
Yeah. People are not a fan of how much taxes we pay already. You think they want you to add more? No. Anybody that tells you otherwise is delusional. Nobody wants to pay more taxes.
You want to read this segment?
Which one?
This one right here.
All right. And Hawaii's governor signed legislation Tuesday that boosts a tax imposed on hotel rooms and vacation rental stays in order to raise money to address eroding shorelines, wildfires, and other consequences of climate change. I understand we have these issues, but should they be adding a tax for it?
I don't think climate change is real.
Yeah.
I don't think it's real.
Yeah, well, that's another conversation for another time. I guess it's technically part of this time. But the signing, which comes nearly 2 years after a Maui wildfire killed 102 people and wiped out almost all of Lahaina town, marks the nation's first such levy to help cope with warming planet.
Yep,
it's getting warm, right?
That's
the issue. That's the reason why the fire started.
Well,
is that the official stance?
No, the reason the fire started was because of high winds. And if you were I was on Maui, like I said, last June, I was surprised with how windy it was, even where we were in Kihei. Like the wind in the afternoon just really blows through it. And Maui, it didn't rain the entire time we were there. Because I thought before I had never been to Maui before. I'm thinking, how could a fire start in Hawaii? Because I'd been to different islands, but I'd never been to Maui. But like going there, I'm like, I could see it. It's like a high enough gust of wind comes through, and it's very dry. I could definitely see something happening.
It happens around here too.
Mm-hmm.
When it's really hot and no rain, you get fire.
But yeah, I wouldn't expect. I didn't expect Maui to be that dry. Like I said, I was there 2 weeks. The only time it rained was when we were in Hana, but that's on the east side. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
All right, Governor Josh Green, speaking at the bill signing ceremony, said Hawaii needs to build more fire breaks and pay a fire marshal, a new position created after Lahaina that given that Green expects to be staffed within the next 2 months. Which honestly, I think that is a good recommendation to have somebody in charge of that type.
They
thing.
should have had that
Because,
already.
the mishand, exactly. I don't understand how. I was just about to say, I don't know how somebody didn't have that already, because that is a standard in most
They should have had that already.
locations
Like,
already, and that's a very big travel destination. I don't understand how that's not a thing.
Well, the death toll in Lahaina was so high because the emergency, the things that weren't for tsunamis when it happens,
they weren't working.
They didn't work properly. People couldn't get out of their homes in times. A lot of the roads that were like blocked off and stuff
To me,
like
that's
that.
negligence of the local government.
Yeah, no,
Like,
well, that's not.
your shit
That's
don't
my
work.
whole
Why-
point.
what the hell?
The state of Hawaii is so badly mismanaged.
Mismanaged, yeah. Oh my god.
It's a beautiful place to go, but I mean, the government, and especially, we care about your people. So you sell off your land like crazy when you know it's not like you're
empty
buying.
statement.
It's not
It's an empty
you're not buying 2,000 acres in Oklahoma. You're buying it on an island that has very limited land. I mean, they're not making any more of it.
You're not buying 2,000 acres in any single state in America for $6,000 an acre.
Well, Oprah got a discount for it because she bought so much. But I'm like, if there's one person who doesn't need a discount for land, it's Oprah.
Yeah. Anyway, so Green said other states and nations will need to act similarly to address climate disasters rolling the planet. I absolutely hope he's incorrect with other.
Well, that's what I was just saying before.
Trying to take advantage of this.
What's going to happen? And now
It's a horrible precedence.
You can't go to Myrtle Beach anymore. You can't go to Orlando. You can't go to Miami. You can't go to
It's
LA.
gonna throw a whole 180 turn. I don't know what's going to happen with the whole tourism, especially if people start really embracing this type of law. I am not on board for it whatsoever. The measure adds, there will be no way to deal with these crises without some forward thinking, mechanics, Green said. I agree, but taxes should not be that forward thinking. The measure adds an additional 0.75% to the daily room rate tax starting January 1st. Green said this amounts to an extra $3 tax on a $400 hotel room rate.
Yeah, and
it also levies a new 11% tax on cruise ship
11%.
bills, which that's significantly more.
That is significant.
Starting July 2026. Prorating for the number of days the vessel are in Hawaii ports to bring cruise ships taxes in line with room taxes on land.
All right, let's see here.
The wordage on that, I don't know.
I'll pick this up actually because I only got like 10 minutes left here before I got to get my daughter. She's gonna have to. Travelers to Hawaii already pay a significant room tax. With the new law, the state's existing 10.25% tax on short-term accommodations will climb to 11%. Together with other state and county taxes, visitors will pay a nearly 19% levy on their accommodations, one of the highest rates in the country. And that's going to be the thing. If you're going to tax people out of going, vacationing is already expensive enough. Vacationing in Hawaii is
fairly affordable. Yeah.
You know, it's like, whenever I go with my family, we literally stay in the cheapest possible place we can find, and even that's still expensive. But I mean, if you want to get up there with it, I mean, you could spend $1,000 a night in a hotel room easy in Hawaii. Let's see. Hawaii's hotels ultimately supported the bill, saying it would help improve the visitor experience. No, it won't help improve the visitor experience. It's completely contrary to that. Green said
Take accountability for your state.
Green said the industry looked at the greater good for tourism, Hawaii, and the planet. Yeah, that's what this is all about. It's about the whole, we got to save the planet type thing. I don't know. Prove to me, I don't believe global warming is happening, but Green initially proposed a bill that would put revenue from the tax increase into a dedicated fund, but lawmakers instead put the money into the state's general fund. Their compromise measure calls on the governor to request funds from the legislature for projects including the following areas: protecting native forests, plants and animals, plants and animals, enhancing climate resilience, and mitigating the effects of tourism on the environment. Green said they will collaborate to implement the law. Fun fact, just so everybody knows, if you go to Hawaii, 98% of the foliage that you see is not native to Hawaii. There are no animals that are native to Hawaii, except for like a couple species of birds. Just so everybody knows, it's because this whole so I don't know what you're talking about here. But
native species. You mean the locals?
Yeah,
you ain't doing
I guess
that.
so.
You're not doing that.
State's Rep Adrian Tam, the chairperson of the House Tourism Committee, said the state must earn the public's trust that it will spend the money transparently in the best way possible. He noted Hawaii's tourism economy relies on a brand that's in part dependent on a pristine natural environment. And nothing's really affecting that so far. They're just worried about, this This whole Green New Deal crap. The visitor industry will struggle if we do not take action now. I don't think that's true, said Tam, a Democrat representing Waikiki. There will be nothing left for them to showcase to the rest of the world if our beaches are decimated, wildfires have taken over our towns, and hikes left unmanaged.
That's it. And you're correct, but it's due to your mismanagement. So now we're supposed to pay, all tourists are supposed to pay due to your mismanagement. That's bullshit.
Listen, I mean, the Lahaina fires, they were terrible. 102 people lost their lives. A lot of people lost their homes, their businesses. I mean, I think the number of lives actually could have been a lot lower had it been managed properly.
Absolutely.
It wasn't.
If their warning systems worked properly, that's the minimum.
Yeah, if the warning systems
they couldn't
worked
even
properly.
have sirens working properly, for crying out loud.
Yeah, it was horribly mismanaged. This is pretty much, this guy's going to say the same thing. Hawaii becomes the first state in the U.S. to introduce a climate change tax for anyone who visits. I just want to read the comments real quick. Oh, hey, Gunther Eagleman, climate change is a hoax. So they're taxing the only money that comes into Hawaii, the visitors. Yeah, pretty much tourism is a huge part of their economy, so this seems like an awful idea. Totally ridiculous. I'm not going anywhere that charges a climate tax. It's a hoax promoted by those who want the rest of your money.
Yep.
What drugs are they doing? Hawaii asks for federal government bailout as tourism grinds to a halt, tax revenues plummet, and unemployment hits record highs. And this could happen. A lot of people on the island, like I said, either you're doing tours, you're working in hotels, you're working in restaurants. And like I said, there's a whole other discussion to be had. Like I said about, a lot of people are like, we don't want Hawaii to be such a touristy place. But it's just like, then you need another, you need more, you need a different infrastructure then. And
you need to find another level of importance to serve then, because right now you have no way to actually.
And things are expensive. I mean,
you can barely manage your infrastructure with what you have set up.
And
imagine if you take away your income.
Hawaii vacations, they're not cheap. And like I said, I mean, if you go to buy bread, I mean, you go to the supermarket to buy bread, it's like $6 or $7. You know why? It all has to be imported. They don't have any fields there to make bread.
No farms there, yeah. Not
well,
for
they
that,
have farms for like taro,
not for
but like
the wheat.
Yeah,
Not for the wheat,
they have they have some of their meats grown there and stuff like that. There is stuff grown there, but some of it's not. Yeah, they have no bread. All the bread's got to be imported. I always notice that when I go there. I look at the price of bread and I'm like, holy crap, it's like $7 for a loaf. A lot. Never really liked Hawaii anyway. I guess my next beach vacation will be to Florida. How much do you want to bet that when tourism tanks, he will raise taxes for citizens again to try to compensate? And that's the other thing too. Hawaii already faces the highest taxes in the nation. It's very expensive to live there. The cost of, maybe not the highest taxes, but the cost of living is the highest in the nation. So, and now you're going
Everything's got to be imported, like you said.
Yeah. And now you're going to you're dampering the only thing that they have right now is tourism. Yeah, it's like 80% of their economy. So let's see, what do I got?
I don't think it's a good move.
No, I think it's stupid. And like I said, the tax isn't a lot, but it might dissuade people from going because I just don't like the implication.
It all depends, I guess, what their goal is, but I mean.
And hopefully it doesn't get implemented anywhere else.
Yeah, really, seriously.
I want to go into this real quick. In the aftermath of the August 2023 Lahaina, Hawaii fires, a new report reveals FEMA's horrific negligence and mismanagement under the Biden administration. The report highlights that 1 in 6 survivors are forced to engage in sex acts in exchange for basic necessities like food and housing. These women, our fellow American citizens, were so desperate for food that they had to resort to such extreme measures just to feed themselves in our own country. While American citizens from Hawaii to North Carolina suffered, Biden and Mayorkas used FEMA as a piggy bank, spending hundreds of millions of American taxpayer dollars on housing illegal aliens. This will never happen again under the leadership of President Trump and Secretary No. I mean, it's from The Guardian.
That does happen everywhere in the world.
I don't know the validity of. Well, that's terrible, though.
Yeah, people always take advantage of situations.
They didn't help Lahaina. They didn't help North Carolina or Tennessee. Like they're not really.
I mean, Flint. Did they even have clean water yet? Like, probably not.
Probably not. I don't know. East Palestine. They never helped those people when that train crashed and there was a huge chemical spill. And the
list goes on.
Last thing I'm going to bring up here, which is just I don't know if they're going to tax Kilauea because Kilauea, it doesn't always. Well, it's always erupting, but it's never like this. It's not always like this. But
changing the climate, though. Oh man.
Yeah, it might be a nice thing to end on I've never seen Kilauea, but it's got to be pretty cool to check it out.
Yeah, I was going to say that would be a real awesome experience to see in person. It's gotta be hot over there.
Oh, I'm sure.
Right that close to it.
Well, the Big Island is the only one that says the Big Island is still getting bigger because Kilauea is erupting, so it actually is making more land. All the other Hawaiian islands, I guess, are getting smaller because all their volcanoes are gone or dormant. I don't know if it's dormant because I think they're actually just done. But yeah, hey, if you want to go see Kilauea erupt, it's erupting now. I would get there before January 1st, so you don't have to pay that extra tax.
Yeah.
The ridge of the...
It's still slightly cheaper.
What did they say? The ridge of the Colorado is about 540 feet? That's insane. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be a sight to see. So if you want to go see it, and I recommend it. Like I said, I really enjoy Hawaii. My daughter loves going. And it's a fun spot. The only thing I really dislike about it, I know people say, oh, they hate tourism, and I'm sure that some of them do. Everyone's always been very nice to me when I'm there. But I'm sure some of them do. I wouldn't dispute that. It's got to be a weird thing. There's always tourists around constantly. But I think it's a nice place. The worst thing is it's expensive, and it's also very. You're coming from the East Coast. It's a very, very long day. Very, very long flight. But
yeah.
But if you're gonna go,
all right. I think that's let us know what you thought about that segment. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't already.
Yep.
Let us know what you think. Will you be willing to pay that tax? Go to Hawaii after January 1st?
Like I said, I think most people will. It's just it's such a bad precedent. Can North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Maine, Alaska, California, Texas?
This could be a very
it's a slippery slope. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Appreciate you everyone listening to our topics that we had today.
Tonight, it's like it's the morning still.
Yeah. Sorry, time of day. Who knows? Hope you join us for the next time. I believe will be Monday.
Monday. Yep. We will be on with a whole new set of topics. Probably still the Biden thing, but a whole new set of topics.
Yeah, I'm sure Biden will still be a relevant topic. Yeah.
Probably.
But thank you all for joining us. Catch you on the next one.
All right. Later.